Okay, can everyone see that presentation clearly on their
Waiting for
screen?
his
Yeah.
Yep.
coffee through us. Oh, you're on something, eh? So,
All right. So today we're going to go through the Latrobe City Community Grant Sponsorship Programs for 2020-21. All right. Before we begin, please put any messages in the chat or raise your hand if you want to speak. It's probably better if you put them in the chat only because I can't see everyone on the screen at the moment. Otherwise, just hold them to the end and then we'll go through any questions at the end. If you have any technical difficulties, please private message me and I'll try and help. By try, it's a very big try. Please keep yourself muted during the session if you're not talking. Sorry. We are recording this session to share with others who could not make it this time, so please keep that in mind when sharing. If you don't want to be on this recorded one, we can record another session, that's all right. Just let me know. And turning on your video is optional, although it is nice to see everyone, but if your internet connection isn't great, then just turn it off. Perfect. All right, so we've got a little bit to go through today. So the first part we're going to go through is the review. So we recently conducted a review, which I'll go through in the next slide. We'll go through the timeline about the community grant and sponsorship programs, community grant categories, sponsorship categories, funding rounds, where can I find a copy of the guideline, eligibility and who can apply, preparing your application, how to submit an application, important things to remember, assessment process, outcome notifications, funding agreements, quitting the project, other available grant and sponsorship programs, contact information, and then finally questions. All right, so Latrobe City Community Grant and Sponsorship Review. So we recently, in October 2019, councillors requested a review of all our grant and sponsorship programs. From there, the following 5 form the basis of the review. So good governance, community access, alignment with council plans, benchmarking and community consultation. So we recently went out for 4 weeks of community consultation and the feedback from that was, it was great. So there was a lot of support for the programs, a few minor tweaks here and there, but all around there was really great support, which was good. Some of the things that came out of the review was the creation of 3 sponsorship categories, which we'll go through later. The creation of a natural disaster relief fund. So that one will be for fundraising events for communities affected by natural disasters. So we'll go through all these in a little bit more detail through the presentations. So applications for all grant and sponsorship programs will be now open all year with all the major sponsorships. So the community sponsorship and a couple of the, the community grants and one of the sponsorship programs will be open all year but assessed twice a year. So if you miss out on this round, you can put an application in the next day. It just means it won't be assessed until the following round, which is early next year. One of the sponsorship programs is open all year, which we'll go through. So that was one of the bigger things to come out of the review, because normally we just have the 1 round and then it closes and then that's it. Everyone has to hold onto their projects for another 12 months. But now it's open all year, so applications, so if you think of something, it can be put in straight away. And that was, we've then created an inclusion, a participation sponsorship program. So we'll go through that one in a bit more detail. That one's just for school-aged children to encourage participation in sport or any recreation activity. We'll go through that one a bit more. All right, so the timeline that we're working with. This year, due to caretaker period, our timeline's quite tight. So our programs opened yesterday, sorry, and I'll just have some water. And they're due to close on the 17th of August. From there, we'll go to eligibility check. So we'll check all applications against our eligibility criteria. Then we go from August to September, we go to panel assessment. So every grant program goes to panel assessment, which means subject matter experts review all the applications and provide feedback and provide a recommendation as to whether it should be funded, part funded or not funded at all. From there, those recommendations are provided to council, and then council has the final say. We're hoping to go to a council meeting in September, so we've really got 8 weeks to push all this through, which will be very tight, but we're hoping to get there. And then if all goes to plan, outcome notifications in October, and for project commencement after the 1st of November. So the community grant and sponsorship programs. So La Trobe City has a proud history of working in partnership with the community to meet local needs. One of the ways La Trobe City supports community groups is through the community grants and sponsorship programs, which deliver funding for projects that reflect our community's priorities and visions as set out in the council and community plans, strengthen communities and provide opportunities for enhancement, participation in public life and community groups, provide benefits to the local community, improve accessibility or inclusion for minority groups, including cultural disability or LGBTQI, provide health and wellbeing and safety to the community, and contribute to social, cultural, environmental and economic development of our community. Okay, now the fun stuff. That was all the... All right, now, so 2019-20, we had 3 community grant programs. So we had minor capital works, community development and community events. In 2020-21, we've expanded the programs. So we've now got minor capital works, minor equipment, community wellbeing, community events minor, and community events significant. So minor capital work. So we had this program last year. The main change with this program is that we've expanded. So the maximum funding amount has gone from $5,000 to $7,000. And last year we asked for 2 written quotes for no matter how much funding you're asking for. So even if you're asking for $1,000, we wanted 2 written quotes. We've changed that now. So for anything 4,000 and under, we ask for 1 written quote, and anything from $4,001 to $7,000 is 2 quotes. So this grant is for upgrades to facilities, improvements, renovations, repairs, any built-in equipment. So fences, what other stuff did we have last year? I'm trying to think of what we funded. Ovens, stoves, so anything that's actually fixed in any environment is, so air conditioners, anything like that, that is a minor capital works project. So minor equipment, so this one's a new program. This one was created, we found last year that we got a lot of applications within community development and minor capital works that were equipment based. So now we've created this program. So it's a maximum funding amount of $2,000. It's for all non-fixed equipment. So if you're going to do a kitchen upgrade and you wanted to buy a stove, that's a minor capital works purchase. But if you wanted to buy a microwave, chairs, all that sort of thing, that's minor equipment. So this one can be used for sporting equipment, furniture to fit out a building, portable seating, defibs, community Christmas decorations, or IT infrastructure and communication software. So that one's a new, the IT infrastructure and communication software is new to the to what we would provide funding for with the grants. In this current environment with COVID, I think that we've got to adjust to that. So this would be great for if you've got to hold meetings online, but you don't have the IT software to do it. That would be a great program for that. All right, next one, community wellbeing. So this one was community development last year, and we've decreased the maximum funding amount from 5,000 to 2,000. This one is for community groups who are looking to do program services and activities. And it can be used for group outings, programs offered to the wider community, bulletin and newsletter production, etc. So the only real changes in this program from last year is that we've decreased the funding amount. Community events. So this is very similar program to last year. So we had a community events last year. Same funding amount, so maximum funding amount is 5,000. So this is for smaller events which encourage participation from the wider community and events that wish to develop an existing an event, and that should be community groups who wish to develop an existing event. So all this one is, we've just changed the name to add minor in, just because we've got a significant event as well. So community events significant. So this one is a maximum funding amount of $10,000, or if you fit the eligibility criteria for the significant event, you can apply for triennial funding, which is 3-year funding. So you'll do one application for 3 years, and you'll receive, if you are successful, and you apply for $10,000, you'll get $10,000 over the 3 years. So at the end of 3 years, you would have received $30,000. The eligibility criteria for triennial funding is that your event must, the sustainability of the event project, so you must demonstrate the sustainability of the event by providing a 3-year budget. The economic benefit that the event will provide to Latrobe City, the community capacity, so there must be attendees over 2,000, and applicants must demonstrate their capacity to deliver a long-term event, so 3+ years. So this one's a new program as well, because we have, over the years, we've had events that have been running for a number of years that do require a little bit more funding than others, purely because their events are getting bigger and bigger, and we just didn't have the funding for it. So now we've created this to hopefully help those groups out. With all those grants that I just went through, you can receive 2 of those per round. So applicants are eligible to receive a maximum of 2 grants per community grant round. So for instance, if you apply, so in round 1, if you apply for a minor capital works grant and a minor equipment grant, and you receive both of them, you can apply for the same in round 2. So it's 2 grants per financial year. 2 grants per round per financial year, sorry. All right, so community sponsorship. So this one is a new program. So we've created 3 funding categories. So community sponsorship minor, community sponsorship major, and natural disaster relief fund. So community sponsorship minor, this one is to provide assistance to community groups for a broad range of community programs, services and activities. So it can be used for venue hire, venue access vouchers and memberships at Latrobe Leisure. So for that one there, you could use it for if you have an event coming up and you want to provide, you're doing a big raffle or something like that, you can provide, so these can be used as to go in there. And in-kind support, performing arts, technician labour, lighting and sound hire. So these grants, so this is the one program out of all the ones I've gone through that's open all year and assessed monthly. So for instance, if you apply for this one today, applications would close tomorrow, and then we would assess them in the next 15 days, and then you'd be notified on the 1st of the next month. But if you apply on the 16th, you'd have to wait till the following month to be assessed. So if you've got an upcoming event or you require sponsorship for something, you need to plan in advance for it. Community sponsorship major. So this is our biggest grant available, or sponsorship available. So maximum funding amount is $20,000. Same with the community events significant. Triennial funding is available, but you have to meet the eligibility criteria. So this one provides assistance to community groups for a broad range of community programs, services and activities, and it can be used for venue hire, uniforms, major community events or in-kind support. And this one for this is assessed in line with the community grant. So this round for this will close on the 17th of August and be assessed twice a year. Applications open all year, but assessed twice a year. And then finally, with these ones, we've got the Natural Disaster Relief Fund. So this one's going to be activated if a natural disaster occurs within Gippsland, and it's to support fundraising events, which are fundraising for communities affected by natural disaster. So this one came about from the recent bushfires in East Gippsland. We didn't really have any funding avenues for those wanting to hold events and all that sort of thing to raise money for the towns affected. So we've created this one that will only be activated if there is a natural disaster. And the same, it can be used for venue hire, in-kind support or assistance, with traffic management, plans, permits, admin, or performing arts side of things. All right, so the funding round. So for all those ones we just spoke about, except for the community sponsorship minor, they're all, there's 2 rounds. So the first round opened yesterday, closes on the 17th of August. And then the next round will open the day after, so the 18th of August, and close on the 28th of Feb. If you've got any concerns in regard to the funding for these, how we're going to manage it. So the budget for this is going to be split 60-40. So if you are unsuccessful in round 1 because of the budget, we'll have a chat to you and just encourage you to apply in round 2. But that'll be something that'll be done on our end. So where can you find a copy of the program guidelines? So all our grant and sponsorship programs are available on the La Trobe City Council website. And to access these, so if you go to the above link up here, and then click on Community, Grants, Sponsorship and Awards, and then go to Grants and select, and then you can select your relevant grant and sponsorship program that you like to apply for. All right, so who is eligible? So to be eligible, applicants must be a not-for-profit, properly constituted legal entity, or be auspiced by such a body which is able and willing to accept legal and financial responsibility for the project, be free of debt to La Trobe City Council and have no outstanding acquittals from previous La Trobe City Council grant applications, hold appropriate public liability insurance, and be based within the municipality of La Trobe City, or provide services or benefits primarily to the La Trobe City community. Preparing to apply. Okay, so when you're preparing to apply, read the program guidelines carefully. So the objectives of the program, the eligibility criteria, funding, how much funding is available, and the closing dates, what will and will not be funded, grant sponsorship conditions, assessment process and processing payment. Prepare your mandatory documents early, so certificate of public liability insurance, quotes, auspice agreement letter, and speak to the relevant council officers. So the very important ones here is with our applications this year, because we're working on such tight deadlines, if the correct documentation isn't attached, your application will be sent back to you, and it'll be up to you guys to resend it back in. We've just got to be, this process, we're going to be very proactive and try and get on top of everything as it comes in, rather than wait till the end and then it adds on another week of stuff we're trying to follow up with groups. So we're going to try and work with everyone to have these in on time and to have all the right documents attached, especially too when it comes to, so if you are successful and it holds up your funding agreement, that could add on another 6 to 8 weeks before we actually pay your grant. We've had some that it holds up about 6 months before we actually pay it because the documents aren't supplied. So we will work with you guys to do it, but if you can get it ready before you submit your application, that would be perfect. Also on our website, we've created a voluntary support example and pro forma. So it's on our website under related documents. So you can go to that. So if you've got any in-kind support that you guys are going to provide to the project, we've actually got an example on there of how to fill it out and the cost and everything that is associated with it. Okay, how to submit an application. So all applications must be submitted via Smarty Grants. When submitting an application, if you have not already done so, you'll be asked to register for a Smarty Grants account. Smarty Grants can be accessed via the La Trobe City Council website. And if you require any assistance with this at all, just contact me. I'm happy to help wherever needed. Important things to remember. Okay, so don't leave it to the last minute. Be prepared and proactive. Don't assume your right to funding. So if your group's previously received funding for the last 10 years, don't just assume that you're going to get it this year. It's going to be a very, I think with this year, there's going to be a lot of grants applied for, especially through your minor capital works and minor equipment. just with COVID, and I think a lot of people have a lot more time to try and do these small projects that they've needed to do for years. So I just don't assume you're right to funding if you have received it previously. Write your application as if the panel has never heard of your organisation or project. So even if you know 3 people that are going to be on the panel, write it as if no one's heard of it. Back up your wants and needs with supporting documents, so statistics, letters of support, plans, etc. Complete all sections of your application form. Incorporate the objectives and aims of the guidelines in the grant program to your application. Ask for support from your organisation. Take time to ensure your application is correct prior to submitting, and contact the grants officer for assistance. So contact me anytime. If you need any assistance at all, I'm happy to help. All right, so the assessment process. So once your application is submitted, it goes through eligibility checks. Then we go to, so all applications are assessed by Latrobe City Council subject matter experts and weighted out of 100. So they're assessed on the applicant's capacity to deliver the project. This includes quotes, budgets, information, plans in support of that application. The application has addressed the community need and describes how the community will benefit from the project. The application demonstrates other contributions, so voluntary support, in-kind, cash, all that sort of thing. The application is consistent with the council plan, municipal health and wellbeing plan, and other strategic documents. So that's what we assess it against. So once we've gone to panel, recommendations are developed for council, and then after that, the report goes to council for the final decision. After this step, so once we've gone to council for a final decision, you will receive an outcome notification. So these will be sent via email. If you're successful, share your success, let the organisation know. Be prepared to get the project done as outlined in your application, and understand your funding agreement conditions and reporting requirements before accepting funding. And if you are unsuccessful, request feedback on the application, identify the other grant opportunities, and ask yourself, was the grant program the best fit for your project? So for instance, if you accidentally apply in minor capital works for an equipment-based project, we will let you know. And if that does happen, because the funding is quite different, the cost of it, we will have a conversation with you first. And then if for some reason we can still part fund some of that project with the under minor equipment, we'll just move it over for you. So you won't need to do another application. We'll just move that over, and just note that you just want a minor part of that funded. So I'll just go back one, sorry. So important thing to remember too, so just because you receive an outcome notification, so if you are successful and you receive your notification email, this doesn't mean that the funds have actually been paid into your account. So prior to spending any of the funding that we've provided for you, so you might have $5,000 in your account, you can spend that on whatever you want, but if it's going to be spent on what you've applied for funding for, you can't do that until we've actually received your funding agreement. So just because you've received the outcome notification, it doesn't mean that the funds are being paid. So no grant funds should be spent until you have completed all relevant documentation and you received your funding. If you fail to comply with these terms and conditions, you'll be asked to return the funds to the Latrobe City Council. So funding agreement. So you've received your outcome notification, now you've got to complete your funding agreement. So you're required to complete a funding agreement in order to receive your funds. You're required to provide your organisation's details, nominated bank account, and agree to the funding conditions. Funds will be paid into your nominated account within 6 weeks of returning the funding agreement. And if your application has an auspice, you will need to work with them to complete the funding agreement, because the funds will, if you've got an auspice, the funds are paid to the auspice. Acquitting your project. So you've received your funds, you've completed your project, now you've got to acquit it. So your organisation is required to submit an acquittal form to finalise your funding agreement with Latrobe City Council. Funds must be expended within 6 months of signing a funding agreement and acquitted within 3 months of the identified project completion. You will also be required to attach evidence of how Latrobe City Council's support for the project was recognised. So depending on the project, so if it's a large minor capital works project, you might get a plaque put up, or if it is a minor equipment grant, a letter, you can attach a letter as support. You might put it in a newsletter, on your social media, so take a screenshot of your social media post. But if you ever have any trouble with that one, just have a chat to me and we can discuss the best way to recognise council support. So you also need to attach an actual income and expenditure budget for the project. This includes proof of purchase invoices or receipts for all items purchased using funding from Latrobe City Council. So for this one, if you, for instance, you're running an event and you buy 100 things, but Latrobe City Council's support's only used, funding's only used for 2 of those things, you only need to attach the receipts for those 2 items. You don't need to attach receipts for everything, because some people panic and think, oh, we're running an event, we've just purchased 100 different things from 100 different places. You only need to attach receipts for what Latrobe City Council's funding was used for. And you'll also need to provide photo evidence that showcases the completed event, completed project. So these are our extra programs that we've got available to the community. So this one's a new program. So this is the participation sponsorship. So this is a new program which has been created to support the inclusion of preschool and school-age Latrobe City residents where there may be barriers to participate in recreation activities. So the program provides support to individuals by paying funds directly to the clubs to cover participation fees. So with this one, for instance, if you've got a junior football club, we've created this one to try and help clubs not be out of pocket, because I know that with some junior clubs, they have five families that can't afford to pay their fees. And that could then put them out $1,000 for the year because they just waive those fees and that's it. So for this one, how it will work is that the individual will apply, and with that, they'll have to attach a letter from the sporting club or recreation club, it can be anything, to say that they've been selected. And once that's attached to their application and we've reviewed it, we will pay the fees directly to the club. So no fees will go to the individual, all fees directly to the club. So we're hoping that this one will increase participation within Latrobe City. And we have another program which I'll go through shortly, which was on the other end of the scale. It recognised those that excel in their chosen area, but we didn't have anything to support those who may be struggling to actually participate in sport because of the fees involved. So this is why we've created this program. So the dream, so this is the one for those that, the ones that have been selected to represent Latrobe City, Victoria or Australia. So there's 3 different funding levels. So Latrobe City up to $100, if they're representing Victoria up to $300, or representing Australia up to $500. So we've had this program for the last couple of years. We just haven't really had the uptake that we thought we would. So if you've got any groups that would love these guidelines, let me know and I'll send them all through. So any schools, anywhere, sporting clubs, anywhere really. So we'll send those through. So both these programs, so participation sponsorship and the Dream one, they're assessed on the 15th of each month as well. So same as the sponsorship minor, applications come in before the 15th, they're assessed on the 15th and notified on the 1st. If they come in after the 15th, they've got to wait till the following month. Biodiversity and rural land grant. So this one's maximum grant amount $1,500. This one is to support practical community efforts to undertake conservation projects on private land. This one is this is one of the ones that's available to individuals, and it's for private rural land. This program will be assessed in line with the community grant. So this one will go through, this program will close on the 17th of August and be assessed for projects commencing after the 1st of November. All right, so contact information. So my contact information's up the top there. If you're delivering an event in Latrobe City and need any info on event permit conditions, so you'll contact Wendy, who's our Senior Events Officer. For any projects that are being delivered on Latrobe City Council land, you'll need to contact the Coordinator Recreation and Open Space. And for any projects that are being completed on Latrobe City Council buildings, you'll need to contact a member of the building maintenance team. All this info is in the guidelines and the application forms. Okay, any questions? Oh, sorry, I've just got to, just 2 seconds. Let me figure out how to do this. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, there we go. Okay, questions? Who? Mario?
Yes. I've got a question about the grants for community events, right?
Yes.
Significant community events where we're talking about $10,000, and it might be for recurring 3 years, right?
Yep.
What happens if you've got an event that happens every 2 years?
Yeah, so your event, because it is every 2 years, isn't it? So you can actually apply for $10,000. We could do you, like if you were going to apply for the 3-year one,
Yeah.
we could actually only apply for year 1 and 3 and just disregard year 2. So in the application form, if you wanted to apply for 3-year funding, you do, in the form, there's like 3 sections. So you can do $10,000 for year 1, 0 for year 2, and then 10,000 for year 3. And then just put in there that your event is only run every 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
we can have a chat about that offline anyway, and
Okay.
what we want to do there.
Thank you for that. That's good. Thank you.
Caitlin, I feel like we're a bit of a square peg in a round hole because we don't have a building, and it all seems to be at buildings and things and events.
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
rail trail, our asset is the land.
Yes.
So that's okay for the minor capital works, minor capital, whatever. That's the only one I can think of. Okay. I'm just wondering how you said 60-40. How are you going to manage your budget? Not my problem to know, but I'm just curious how we manage a budget right down to the last month.
Yeah, I think for this first year, because this is the first time we've really, the first time I've seen it happen like this. I think for the first 12 months, it's going to be very, it's going to be kind of like a trial. See how it goes. Yeah, for the first 12 months, especially with our new guidelines as well. I know that councils were very keen to just see them go out for the first 12 months. And then after the 12 months, we'll review and have a look at any issues that came up and all that sort of thing, because there might be some tweaking that needs to take place. So I think in regards to the budget, it's just going to be very, I've got an idea of how we're going to do it, and I've already split it, but still from the amount of applications that we normally receive in one round, it's just going to be, it's going to be a little bit difficult, I think, this first one, but we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's good for some of the ones that are monthly. The minor equipment, one of the examples given was like portable seating.
Yep.
I'm wondering on the rail trail fixed seating.
Yep.
Would be okay.
So if it's fixed seating, so if it's you can't move it at all, that'll go under minor capital works.
We can't move it, but the vandals can.
Yeah, so that'll be a minor capital works one. So you've actually got $7,000 in that one.
Righto.
To work with.
Yep, we probably won't, but we might. And we always have a problem with the certificate of public liability because we didn't have one.
You don't?
No, it's council. It's all yours because we're a subcommittee of council.
Yeah, that might be all right. I'll have a chat to our teams to see, because if you fall under ours, then that's fine.
Yeah, and we've had to ask before, who is currently coordinating recreation and open space?
I think it is. That's just all changed. So I can tell you right now. Let me just look it up.
Because I think we went there before and somebody gave us some statement that I put in, which I'll have a copy of.
Last contact that you were given, do you know?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I think that position's just been, the coordinator was interviewed last week, replacing Karen Tavelis. So I think that will be available anytime, Nicola.
anytime soon.
Right.
What else did I have? I think that was it. I wrote them on a lot of pieces of paper, but that was all. Thanks.
All this, I'll put this presentation up online too, up on our website once we're finished. So then if you need to jump on and have another look, but all the guidelines are available on our website too. So if you've got any questions at all, once you look through the guidelines properly, just give me a call.
Has Smarty Grants changed in any way to make it more user-friendly?
I tried to change the forms a bit. So like our smaller funding amounts to make the applications a bit easier to use. But anything larger funding amount, they've been made more difficult. So,
oh, good. I'll look forward to that then, shall I?
It's only really, sorry, in saying that, it's just your $10,000 funding and your
oh, well, that's not us. Good.
$20,000. Just we needed extra info for them. But your minor capital works and all that, they're very similar to what they were. But if you need any assistance with any of that stuff, just let me know.
Good, I will do.
Any other questions? Heather?
Sorry. So it's not really, yeah, might be a couple of questions. Just well done, Caitlin, too, because this is the first round of these. So very well done.
Going over it for the last 9 months.
Yes. And so with the minor equipment grant,
yep.
They can purchase IT hardware with that as well as the software. We were saying we can do software programs, but you can purchase hardware with that as well. Yep. That's correct, isn't it?
Yep.
And with the community sponsorship, with the major sponsorship with the 3 years, and the groups can't bank the money and just say try 10 years and not deliver and then have got some left over. They really need to, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, they really need to spend all that money and equip that fund to be able to get the next year's 10,000 and then the same again for the following year.
Yep, that's correct. So with those larger amounts, so the 10,000 and the 20, at the end of the first financial year, they'll actually need to provide info on us about, if it's for an event, for example, about the event to just to really prove to us that it was successful and that it did bring in over 2,000 people and everything that the eligibility criteria that you need to be able to apply for that funding. So, and we'll work closely with Wendy in events to get all that info from those forms.
Fantastic. And the other thing was in relation to a group that's put in for funding and with the bucket of money, that 60% for that round, the first round has been fully expended, we'll hold their application. They won't have to reapply, will they? Or will they have to resubmit? Because what's our process there? Sorry, just trying to clarify.
Yeah, so in Smarty Grants, we can't just move the application over. So we will need to put the application in again, but with that, I can sit down with whoever it is and easily transfer all the info over. It'll take me 2 minutes to do it, but I just need the person there with me to actually access their account. So then I can jump in, have that form open, have the other form open and just transfer it all over.
Yeah. I mean, we're a little way off yet, but these are things that we will look at putting into a FAQ sheet perhaps for people. This is our first one, so some really good information and good questions that people have asked that will help us refine things for others. Thank you, that's great.
No worries. Yep, Bianca? Oh, hang on, you're off.
I'm muting myself, sorry. Just with the community events, writing applications for events that could potentially not go ahead due to COVID. Yep. What's going to happen with that? Like, what's your advice for us applying for event stuff?
Yeah, not a problem. So with the events, it's really hard at the moment because, yeah, like you said, we don't know what's going to happen. When would you be holding your event?
ASAP. Like, yeah, just so it doesn't. I've got a community that I'm working with. We're wanting to do a program. I think would fit under the community wellbeing. So I don't know if it has a cutoff. I'm got to get my head around understanding that. But they would like to happen as soon as possible. We were looking at July, August, and obviously that's pushed back because we went backwards instead of forward. So I guess we're just waiting to see what happens with COVID, but you know, it's kind of when do you apply, like applying for funding
Yeah.
to run an event that may not happen.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
in that kind of situation at the moment.
Yeah, perfect, no problem. So you're kind of lucky in this one because all funding is going to be in the same financial year anyway, so it's not going to affect our budget at all. What you could do is you could apply in this round, and if for some reason it doesn't happen, the budget's still going to be there. We're just got to be aware of how much we're spending that. So this is probably more. This is more of my thing that I've got to be aware of. That that we'll just have to transfer that little amount over until the next round of funding. So even if you apply now and it's not delivered before the start of next year, that'll be fine. There's nothing in these situations, there's nothing we can really do. Like, it's quite difficult times at the moment.
Do we need to give you a date of the event? Because that's going to be the hard part.
Yeah, so even have a chat to, so Wendy, who's on the contact list there, even give her a call and have a chat to her. So she keeps record of all the events that are being held in Latrobe City, because she can actually give you an event, a date as well that may be free. So that'll help you get attendees and all that sort of thing. So I'd even call Wendy, have a chat to her.
Yeah.
And then I work really closely with Wendy, so we can even sit down and have a chat and just find out the best way to go about these things. But you will need to supply a date.
Yeah.
I think that, Bianca, that it need to be realistic in this environment. You know, nothing's going to run July, August, September, October. If you look at all events across Australia, Victoria, you know, running events, all kinds of things are all being cancelled virtually all of this year, and especially anything that's involving aged people, people at risk. So be absolutely realistic in when you can and will run it, because they'll make it simpler.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk with the community about that and being realistic about you know, it's so unknown, so we can only go so far. But I guess one of the jobs we can do is look at funding to run it. So, but that's going to be the hard part. I mean, potentially could pick a date in December and it'll still be cancelled. We don't know. So I guess just for the purpose of applying for the funding, I think we'll pick something much further down the track, and then fingers crossed, you know, that things are better.
And likely to be much more successful when people are more confident about coming out in the community and mixing, because we're finding that the information we're getting from our COVID helpline is that a lot of people are not feeling comfortable about mixing with people, especially older people. So depending on your target groups, so be really aware of that. But that sounds very sensible. Thank you.
Thanks.
And to Bianca, if for some reason you miss this round, the good thing with our grants now is we will have a second round. So we never used to have that. So people used to just put in applications for the one round. But I think now that'll take some pressure off groups as well, knowing that we have a second round, and that, especially with events, if you miss this one, you can put it in September and it would be assessed for the next round. Any more questions? No, we're all good.
Not until we start writing it, I would imagine.
No, I think that's what happens with everything. You've got to start the process and then
Not the day before.
Yeah.
I struggle with that so badly. I'll try and do better.
That's all right. That's all right. Just, so just remember that we are working on very tight deadlines because of caretaker period, because we can't have any decisions for that 1 month in September, October. So if you've got any questions at all, jump on. You can even jump on now and have a look at the application forms. If you don't want to finish it, it'll just sit in another section, so don't stress about that. And then
I have one more question just to clarify. When you said you can apply for two,
this is the confusion.
basically 2 grants in 2 rounds, so absolute total would be 4 successful if you were really good at it.
Yeah.
Or
So
absolute over 12 months.
Over 12 months. Yep.
Yep. Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So if anyone has any further questions, just give me a call. And thank you for attending.
Well done. Thank you very much.
Good job. Virtual's been really good. I wouldn't have been able to get to a non-virtual, so thank you.
Yeah, Audrey did all that organising, so we'll thank her for that.
Thank you,
Thank
Audrey.
you for that, but you managed it, so well done.
Great job.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.